Imagine there's a family business, mum and dad run the family business, and one of the children was involved with the business for 30 years, and one of the children wasn't. What's a fair slice to give each of those children? In some families, it's going to be completely different. It'll also depend, are there other assets for the parents to leave behind? If the business is the only asset the parents have, that might look very different. If the business is one small component of the estate and there are lots of other assets that are going to be passed on, again, that could look very different. Um, you also have to consider that parents need to provide for children in different ways. So some children may be more successful than others. Some children may have a better quality of life than others. Some children may be more capable of managing finance and assets than others. So every family circumstance has to be taken in its own right. Um, and I think that's really the need for succession planning. It's the need to understand what's going to happen in your circumstances, and is that what you actually want to happen? Is that going to deliver a fair result? And as with most things, if you don't plan for the outcome that you want to happen, the law will provide a certain outcome, but more often than not, it's not the outcome that you want to happen. Again, going back to that scenario, maybe the two children would inherit equally. Now, what's the motivation for one of the children to continue to work in the business every day, and for the other children not to work in that business? Um, so you need to have practical structures in place that enable people to benefit in the way that they want to benefit. When you're running a business, if you're running a business with a third party, someone who's not a family member, you go into that business and you negotiate your salary and you negotiate pay rises. At some point, you may negotiate equity because you know the contribution you're making to your business and you're looking for your fair financial reward for that contribution. Within a family situation, it can be very different because it's not a pure business relationship. You then have family relationships built on top of that, family politics built on top of that. And oftentimes, families don't negotiate for salary, they don't negotiate for equity in the way that you might do if you were working for a business that is outside of your family. So, where you have those business politics at play and those family politics at play, it's very, very important to understand what your options are and actually to understand what should be put in place over time. So, we can engage with families to help them to understand that landscape and to help them to put effective plans in place that are actually going to work for them. And this is something that we try to encourage clients to do. Um, when we work with a client, we will work with a client in a fairly involved way to create a succession plan. And that might take 3 months, and we might meet with that client every week or every couple of weeks during those 3 months. There are lots of decisions to be made. There's a lot of information that's being shared. People need to understand it. People need to have conversations with their accountant to see if that, if the accountant is on board and thinks it's a good idea, with our financial advisor to see if they're on board and think it's a good idea, to help everybody come together to be working towards one strategy for how this family is building their estate and maximizing what they can do. Now the reality is, if you're looking at business succession planning, you need to have your key stakeholders in the room because they need to buy into the succession plan for that business. Um, and all the more so whenever it's a family business, and perhaps you've got the parents, you've got the children who are involved in that business. Key people need to be brought along the journey as you go. There's no point in creating a succession plan yourself where you figure out this is exactly what you want to happen and then don't tell anybody else. That's never going to work. Everybody needs to buy into the succession plan. Everybody needs to be brought along the journey. There are lots of ways that you can do that, and it'll depend on the relationships with key people within the business. Are you having monthly board meetings? Are you having monthly board meetings with your stakeholders to make sure that the business is going in the right direction, everybody is meeting their targets, their goals, whatever's been set for that, and reviewing to make sure that the business is on track for where they want to be. Um, if it's family relationships, you may want to take it outside of the business. If there are relationships perhaps with third parties who might want to buy your business, you want to take it outside of the business. But you want to have those regular meetings to make sure that you're bringing everybody along the journey with you, keeping those relationships warm, keeping those people invested and motivated. Ultimately, it's not something that you can do in isolation. You need input from lots of people, and the more you keep those relationships and take them along with you, the greater success you're going to have.